I'm explaining to my friends, I'm like, the best way I can describe anxiety is like, okay, like on a plane, gonna crash, like on a boat, gonna sink, train derailing. Like it was just like task, like just automatically worst case every time. Like starting to date someone, they're not gonna like me, they're gonna leave me.
Learning about the unknown is always the scary part, because when you don't know what's gonna happen in your life, then it keeps you on edge all the time. You kind of just like, I need to do this, and you trying to do so many things within yourself.
One day, I think I just realized, because it's like a wheel, and I said this before, like anxiety is literally like a wheel in your head, and it keeps on going and going and going and going. It's the same thought over and over again. And I'm like, finally, I realized if I can't change it, then I have to let it go.
Welcome to C Notes. I'm Kierra, the founder and host of C Notes. Today's episode, The Calm Before the Storm. And that really is all about anxiety, stress, worry, things that most of us deal with every single day. I know I did studies and research, and most high school students, at least 90% of the ones that I surveyed, stated that anxiety was their biggest mental health challenge. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And I feel like stress and anxiety feel like mental clutter. Too many thoughts, too many worries, too many to-do lists. And you guys know how society, I feel like, instills that fear, worry, stress, anxiety feelings within us. But it's like having too many tabs open on your computer, each one slowing things down, making it harder to focus, harder to rest, harder to just be present. Sometimes stress is loud. It's the racing thoughts, the tightness in your chest, the feeling that you're always behind. Other times it's sneaky. It shows up as, procrastination, irritation, or feeling disconnected from yourself. Here's the thing. Most of us don't even realize how much stress we're carrying until it starts affecting us physically. Maybe we've been tired, your body feels tense, or you keep having headaches, especially headaches out of nowhere. That's because stress isn't just in your mind. It lives in your body too. And so we're going to connect it. I feel like anxiety, stress, worry comes from fear. And the opposite of fear is faith. I think a lot of people don't have faith in everything is going to work out. When everything has worked out, you're still living, you're still breathing, you still have another day to do tomorrow. And I'm going to say, yeah, because I went to see Kelly Price last night. So I'm going to do a Kelly Price song just to get us started. Kelly Price, It's Gonna Rain.
Yeah, yeah. Keep your head high.
Okay, so I really love that song. Actually, when I was listening to it, I was like, man, I need to really connect this with anxiety, because a lot of times when we're in the midst of things, we don't understand or know that. I would say not that we don't understand. It's just the simple fact that we're too focused on the worry, the stress, the anxiety, things like that, that we don't really focus on the present, the now, and even knowing that we have tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to come, and we know that it is going to rain, but you're going to get through that. I'll say you're going to get through that storm. You're going to get through that. I'll say whatever worry, stress you're feeling, honestly. And it gets to I feel like that song also connects to today's episode, because stress and anxiety are like the calm before a storm. And yeah, it's going to rain. But I don't know if you ever notice, like, before storms hit, before we get a storm, before it even comes into fruition, things starts to shift. The sky darkens, the air gets heavier, the wind picks up. These are nature's warning signs, letting you know that something big is coming. Our bodies do the same thing when stress and anxiety start to build up. The signs are always there, but most of us ignore them. This is when self-care is important, which we're going to get into later this season, but we keep pushing through, telling ourselves we'll be fine, until suddenly we're not. And just like with the storm, if people don't prepare if we don't take action, the impact can hit us hard, even harder, depending on the situation, honestly. And I'm gonna do one more song before we get into our guest, because it reminds me of this old song too, Inner City Blues, Make Me Wanna Holler. Because that's what's gonna happen when we build up so much unnecessary clutter, that mind clutter that I was telling you guys about. When you build up so much of that clutter in your mind, the stress, the worries, and it's always something out of our control. And I'm just being honest, unless you're procrastinating, unless you're doing it to yourself, honestly. And that is in your control. And honestly, we do have the control to walk away from a situation, to let go of something that is not bringing us clarity. I always tell my clients, a lot of anxiety and worry comes from honestly not being honest. Let's just be honest. Let's just be real. I feel like a lot of times people are not being honest about they already have too much on their plate, but they still pick up more. A lot of people don't be honest about their feelings for another person, and now it's moving into their daily lives. A lot of people are not honest with their work. A lot of people are not honest with intimate partners, friendships, family, and we're just taking on so much. And we have our mind is so full of worry, stress, like, how am I going to get all of this done? Or, man, I wish I could tell this person this. Or, man, he said something or she said something that it's just on my mind. And I wanted to ask them a question for clarity, but now I'm just going to let my mind play tricks on me and come up with whatever scenario I want, instead of just getting it off your chest. And yeah, get it off your chest. But make me want to holler.
Make me wanna holler the way they do my life. This ain't living.
The song talks about the weight of life, the stress, the struggles, the feeling of being overwhelmed. And that's exactly what stress does. It builds up, piles up. And if we don't release it, baby, it's going to overflow. And in this episode, I'm sitting down with some guests to talk about their experience with stress and anxiety and what it looks like in their lives, how they learn to recognize their warning signs and the tools that help them clear their mental clutter before things get out of control. And it may have gotten out of control in the past, but learning from what you've been through so you can handle situations again. Because I'm going to say the true definition of insanity. My former supervisor used to say the true definition of insanity is repeating the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. We're not doing this. We're fearing our minds and we're doing things differently, because that's what really therapy is all about. Giving you a different perspective on life and whatever you may be experiencing. But my hope is that this episode helps you tune into your warning signs and remind you that no matter how intense life feels, you can always find calm before the storm. So let's get into it. But anxiety. Can you tell me about your experience with anxiety and stress? Because they're kind of closely related.
Yeah. I have dealt with anxiety from as long as I can remember, to be honest. But I remember as a kid just being like, telling my mom, like, Mom, I feel weird. Like that's how I described it as a kid. I was like, I just feel weird. And then like, as I got older and just, dealt with it basically every day, I was kind of able to better understand what was happening because I was able to identify what it was. So I got like diagnosed with basically GAD, just generalized anxiety disorder, in college, like my junior year of college. I was seeing a therapist, and we identified that it was anxiety. And then from there, I was just able to be like, okay, so what's GAD? And it was just like, it's basically just like general anxiety. There's no specific like reason for it. Like, cause for some reason it's like, oh, I have a test tomorrow, I have anxiety about it. Oh, I'm going on a date, I have anxiety. For me, it was just like there, just consistently. So yeah. It kind of felt like impending doom too. Just like something bad is going to happen.
Worry.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah. That's another word I say.
Thank you for because
worry.
Just always worried.
Yeah.
And I would add on top of that, like, jumping to worst case scenario for everything. Like when I'm explaining to my friends, I'm like, the best way I can describe anxiety is like, okay, like on a plane, gonna crash, like on a boat, gonna sink, train derailing. Like it was just like tastic, like just automatically worst case every time. Like starting to date someone, they're not gonna like me, they're gonna leave me. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of thinking. And so, and it manifests in different ways. Like, so for me, it has manifests like physically with like people. A lot of times they'll be like, you're shaking, like you're not like, so like physically, but then also like within my thoughts, kind of like what I was saying, just like jumping to like worst case or just like always worried that, like I'm worried, like, and just never having like a full sense of peace.
What have you done to try to counteract some of that anxiety?
Journaling has been a huge thing for me because there's just so much in your like mind, like you have so many thoughts. And so I think a way, like I use journaling as an outlet to just like get what I was feeling down on paper. And even that was like enough to be like, okay.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it feels in my personal experience, it felt like my mind was going a million miles an hour. Like I was thinking this, that. And it was all just like concerns and just like feeling worried. So journaling has been huge for anxiety. Another thing has just been, like I've mentioned before, talking with people I feel comfortable with and I feel close with and being like, hey, like I'm worried about this or I have this concern. And a lot of times, the people that care about you and love you will help your thinking as well.
Yeah.
Like, hey, so that's not realistic. You know?
Yep.
So I'd say that. And then therapy helped me a lot because you were one of those people to be like, hey, like, well, I never felt judged or like you were thinking that I was crazy with you and my therapist in college as well. Like it was always just like you were listening and it was just like you would help. It was just like you would say something and it would like challenge the anxious thinking. And then I'd be like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, oh, okay. So talking with people, journaling, and then just like stuff that brings you zen. So like, I love to light candles. If I'm feeling super anxious or like breathing, because I have had like experienced anxiety attacks, of course, as well. And with that, breathing helped a lot. Or like what is it when you mindfulness? Is it mindfulness when you like are like, okay, like that chair is red. Like I see,
being present in the now.
Being where your feet are. I think that's a huge one too.
Yeah. That's all great. I mean, that's what I recommend,
Yeah.
Especially journaling. I think journaling, I tell everybody you should journal, get your thoughts out.
Yeah.
It's like a dump, and it's like a great place to dump those, I'll say, intense or anxious thoughts.
Yeah. Another thing for me was, I feel like I've been using the word mindset a lot, but honestly, it kind of is that like
it is
yourself, like, or just first of all, like realizing, okay, like that's extreme. You know what I'm saying? Like in my experience, I always had like extremes, like kind of what I said, like catastrophizing, like, okay, this is gonna happen. Worst case, like challenging your own thinking and being like, okay, like this feels real. This feels so real right now. But it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I always combating those negative thoughts. Like, just like you can go to worst case, okay, best case scenario, or what's realistically, like you have to do that until the things in your mind change. Cause it's all self, which is your mind. You have to be in control of those thoughts. And the only way to do it is just like to keep combating those negative thoughts, or they will keep coming.
Correct. It's like playing, would it be like playing devil's advocate with yourself?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, like, well, or like I'm sure you've seen the saying, maybe you haven't, I don't know, but I be on Pinterest. They have all the sayings. I have a whole folder of just like, oh yeah, love it.
Affirmations,
so
affirmation.
Okay. Yeah. But there was this one, it was like, but what if I fall? It's like, oh, darling, but what if you fly?
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So
I love it. But anything you want to leave the audience in regards to anxiety, worry?
Yeah, kind of just like, well, I laughed because it's just like, I just thought of kind of something that I say all the time, like to my friends, like if this is like, yeah, I don't know, I'm just goofy, silly, you know how I am, but I would just say relax. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Relax.
Yeah.
Like,
yep.
But I say like my friends and stuff, like as a joke, because if they would say something I didn't agree with, like, oh, like, I don't know, they'd be like, I'm trying to think of an example, like, oh, I don't know, Taylor Swift is like the best of all time, greatest music of all time. I'd be like, relax. Like, chill out.
Yeah.
It's definitely Tyler, but type of thing. But yeah, I would just say, just breathe, relax, know that it's going to be okay. It has been okay every single time. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would it be different this time?
Yep.
And just know that you're so much stronger than your anxiety.
Yeah.
So
just
know you have the power. The anxiety does have the power.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anything else before?
That's all. That's all.
Thank you. Anxiety, stress, worry. I feel like this is a topic that so many people experience. I did a speech at Adams High School, and we had this bucket, and everybody had to write what they wanted us to discuss. And 90% of them said anxiety. People experience anxiety at a very, very young age. And for me, I don't know, I see anxiety as like the overthinking, worrying about the future, the past, what ifs, things. I don't really know. That's my thought on process on anxiety and stress. But what's your experience?
Like growing up, my experience with anxiety, I didn't really believe in it at first because I thought people were over dramatic and just like, I have anxiety. I feel like they just use that as a shield to kind of just not have to deal with the reality. And I'm like, man, that stuff not real. But then as I got older, I think I experienced a little bit of anxiety. Like you said, it could be stress. It can be the worries. Worrying about the unknown is always the scary part because when you don't know what's going to happen in your life, then it keeps you on edge all the time. You kind of just like, I need to do this. And you trying to do so many things within yourself when it's out of your power.
Yeah.
You can't really control the future. You can't control what's going to happen. So with dealing with stress with me was just stress / anxiety. I just had to figure out what was I even worried about in the first place and figure out, a solution for it. I had to figure out how can I change this instead of just sitting there digging deeper into dragging myself down and just making it just harder for myself. So with that, I had to just, like I said, I had to figure something different. I had to just start figuring out a different solution. But yeah, overall, I can't really say that like anxiety has really hit me that much. I think I would try to call it more stress. Yeah. So like I would just push it more on the stress side. I never really tried to use the word anxiety for myself. But stress, man, it could definitely get you. I don't care what point in time you are in your life. Like I don't care if you up high or down low. Stress is real. So I can say that like it is real, and you just got to figure out
how to manage it
the best way that you can. Don't try to do too much. Like you gotta ride the wave, man. You gotta ride it out and see what's gonna happen.
Is there any other like the ways you've been able to manage your stress? What does that look like to you?
Figuring out that solution. I mean, sitting there worrying about it, crying about it, you ain't gonna go far with that. You have to really man up or whatever it is. You have to really analyze the situation. You have to dissect it. You have to look at it from a different lens, and you have to figure out, okay, now how can I fix this? How can I come up with a solution to change the outcome of what I'm going through right now? So whatever obstacle I've been through in life, like I said earlier, it's supposed to happen. So once I looked at it from that perspective, it's like, okay, you gonna stress about it? Or you gonna figure out what's gonna happen? You can sit down and worry and do all this, or you gonna get up and figure it out? And I had to start getting together and figuring it out. I'm like, hey, I'm not gonna sit around and cry, but I'm not gonna sit around and mope about it. I'm about to get up and I'm gonna go get it.
Yeah.
And that's just how I looked at it. No matter what I'm going through, like I done been up, man, late nights working on my craft, working on my business, like tired. Probably got bags in my eyes now, tired, like really up, working, grinding, you know what I'm saying? Putting in that work, you know what I'm saying? So I look at it from that perspective. This stuff is made to be hard. It's not made to be easy at all. Like if it was built to be easy, everybody would do it. Everybody would take the easy route out and just be like, okay, I'm gonna run that.
But I feel like the easy way, really it's the only way is just to do it. A lot of people just don't do anything at all.
You got to do it scared. You got to do it regardless. You got to just do it. You got to take the risk. You have to deal with the pressure of, not always knowing what's going to happen. And you have to be able to manage that. Some people can't fathom that. Some people stress themselves out to the point where they can't even operate or do anything. Like, I don't try to get in those situations. Like, I actually fuel off of that. Like, if I'm stressed out and I'm trying to figure out a solution, I'm going, like I said, I'm going to analyze everything, figure out what I got to do, and I'm going to push it from that point on. Like, I don't know. I handle things a little bit different than other people, so I can't say that's going to work for everybody, but for me, that's how I deal with it.
It's really put forth the effort. That's what I was just thinking. I'm reading this book right now, and they talk about like the difference between. It was really mindset. It was like a growth mindset or a fixed mindset, and it was like really the greatest people, I'll say, that have accomplished the greatest amount of things. The difference between them and others is the amount of effort. And people still don't want to see that. They don't want to see that person worked hard to get where they're at. They just see the end result. And it's, they mentioned, of course, the most obvious was Michael Jordan. Like a lot of people, greatest basketball player of all, but they don't try to think about or remember, because a lot of people do know. But they say they don't think about the journey that it took to get him where he was. Like him being cut from the basketball. Like he didn't make it that, Yeah. And then even he talked about when he came back, when he went to baseball, came back to basketball. And he was like, I let the people get to my head and thinking like, I don't got to put in no work because I'm the greatest basketball, and then they lost. And he was like, no, I don't want to even be in that mindset anymore. And he went back to doing the work.
Fundamentals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even Tiger Woods, like people who are really that it just seemed like everything comes to them naturally and everything flows to them. It's a lot of effort that goes into that.
It's a lot. And that's the thing, like a lot of people don't understand that. And like you said, a lot of people see the glamour and the glory, the diamonds, the jewelry, they see the successful lifestyle and they think like, oh man, but you don't know what they went through to get where they at. And like you said, they don't understand that he was cut from a team that Tiger Woods had to go through everything he was going to endure. Like it's a lot of things that you probably been through that you had to overcome that people just seeing the end result now. And they look at me and see like, oh, they don't know what I've been through. They don't know all of the stuff that I went through. And some stuff you don't even really want to talk about. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you got to just pick the good and the bad and run with it. I mean, it come down to that. You just got to just figure out what it is that you want to do. Figure out how to get where you want to get, and you got to understand that it's going to be a journey. It's not going to be an easy ride. It's going to be a journey every time. So
and that's what I always say. I'm like, just like life is a journey, all these things that we deal with, anxiety, stress, grief, the depression, everything, it's all a journey, and it doesn't end until we die. So if you don't want to go through this and like feel what you need to feel and get through it, your life, you're not really living anyway. You're not living anyway. But thank you.
Anxiety, stress, worry. I feel like those all go hand in hand. And I'm so happy. I just put this together too. In the Inside Out movie, they added the character anxiety, but everybody experiences it. Everybody does. They be in their head so much. And all these topics, it starts, I'll say it gets to that. It's the being in your mind and overthinking and, all that good stuff. But can you tell me about your experience with anxiety and stress?
Yeah, so I used to have like crippling anxiety, panic attacks. And I think, I know it was caused by like all the stress that I had in my life. And with my anxiety, I would be thinking about stuff from 10 years ago, 15 years ago that I had absolutely no control over. And one day I think I just realized, because it's like a wheel, and I've said this before, like anxiety is literally like a wheel in your head and it keeps on going and going and going and going. It's the same thought over and over again. And I'm like, finally I realized if I can't change it, then I have to let it go. If it's something that I can work on, then I'm going to work on it. But if it's something I literally I'm thinking about stuff, like I said, 10, 15 years ago, I have no control over that. This is not something that I need to like occupy my mind with. So I need to put that out of my head so I can focus on right now and I can focus on my decisions for the future. But I mean, I would literally get panic attacks from like thinking about the same thing over and over and over and over again. I'm just like, this has to stop. Like I would literally be sitting there and I mean, I just had no control over myself. And I had to like snap out of it. And I'm like, no, you do have control over yourself. Like we talked about before, like I can put these thoughts out of my mind. And I think that maybe the anxiety part was me not, like we talked about before, me not being able to take accountability for myself. So I never dealt with that thought that I had in my head. I never processed it. I've never like, okay, this is what happened. Yeah. This is what I did. Yep. It's the decision I decided to make. And it's like, no, I would think about it and then try to make a different scenario like it was going to change. And it's never going to change. It's already happened. So I had to learn to just let stuff go. And if I couldn't change it, I'm like, if I can't change it, I literally cannot keep thinking about this. I have to just push it out of my head.
No, I'm happy that you said that too. A lot of people don't know that they are the ones they're causing the anxiety by not dealing with whatever that's the reoccurring thing that's going on in their mind. And I'm like, it could be a simple conversation that you need to have with somebody, like, or they said something and it could have been one word that they said. Mm-hmm. And now you're like, they think I'm dumb. Now you going through your mind.
Yes.
It's like in that. And it probably could have been a miscommunication, misinterpretation, and all you had to do was like, "Hey, what do you mean when you?" And it's not like, "What do you mean when you?"
Yes.
But like, I just want to get clarity because it's not somebody who you really don't like that causes. It's people in conversations that with people you love and your support
and opinions that you care about.
You feel like,
and I've said that before too. I've said that before. I'm just like, it was literally just like you said that, as simple as that. I could have just asked you a question. You can literally just clarify and that anxiety will literally just go away.
And it's like a lot of us, most people, I'll say adults anyway, are carrying weight from childhood that they never should have carried. And they're just taking it with them in life. And it's a lot of baggage. That's that bag lady. But we're carrying a lot of unnecessary baggage, giving it power, giving it so much power. The what ifs and that what ifs from the past, what ifs from the future, it's not in your control. You have to let it go. And hey, that gets to live in the moment. You have to be present in the now. You putting so much time and effort into something, like you said, that you have no control of. Mm-hmm. And when you let that go, I'm telling you, you can get a lot accomplished by letting go of unnecessary, worry, stress, anxiety. And I thought about this actually when we talked about the social media pressure, but your mind doesn't see what you see. Mm-hmm. It can hear thoughts, filling it with, if you're surrounded by negative people, you surrounded by people like, oh, I'm so stupid. Your mind hears that. Yeah. That didn't even come from you. That's why I'm like, when people be talking, I'm like, no, you're not. Don't say that. Don't say that about yourself. You're smart. And even just when I talk about the affirmations, it doesn't have to be like you're beautiful, you're smart. It could be whatever you feel like you're liking, like I'm confident, whatever it is, like to take away that anxiety or whatever that's causing you that, I'll say that repeating cycle. You gotta stop yourself. And it's within
Well, just like you repeating that negativity to yourself in your head or that negative thought, that's like replacing it with the affirmation. It's like, let me replace that thought and keep on saying it over and over again out loud. So that's what's replaying in my head over and over again instead of this negative thought. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I'm like, we always hear we are our own biggest critics, and I'm like, okay, why we can't be our own biggest cheerleader? Why we can't be, like you can change any type of the narrative and the perspective, and I guess that aside from realizing that a lot of stuff stems with self, and the answer is self, and it's self. Now that I'm even thinking about it, with self, it can be your biggest or worst. It can be your biggest worst enemy, or it can be the biggest I'll say your champion. It could be the life thing or the life changing experience that you need for, I'll say, growth. Because ego and that pride, you mentioned this before in another episode, but it's all coming together. That accountability, having to look at like, dang, if I would have just said this, or if I would have just did this, why I let this situation stay with me for 5 years, 10 years, if I would have just, but it was like, I didn't want to take accountability. I didn't want to make myself, because I knew if I took accountability, I knew there was a problem in that situation. And that's the pride and ego at its worst. But also the ego can be, because ego is self. The ego can be different. Okay, you know what? I'm going to take accountability. You know what? I did make a mistake. And I tell people, I don't like apologies. I'm going to do better. I'm going to show you that I really value you in my life, and I'm going to change here. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do something better. I'm going to be, because I want to be the best version of myself, because it's within all of us. So, yeah. I don't know. I've been talking, but
that's the only way to be. But that's the only way to improve. But I think like when I was younger, you don't want to take heed to older people or what they have to say. Like, and that's even yourself. Like, if you can't take accountability for yourself, you can't grow from that situation. You can't take, if you can't take accountability, you're not learning anything from what just happened to you. Whether it's negative or positive,
and
you
honestly,
cannot learn from it if you cannot take accountability.
In this moment, I just thought that a lot of us don't know how to take accountability, because back to those boomers, our parents didn't take accountability. When they did something wrong, like somebody was telling me a story that it was one of my clients actually. She was telling me a story that her mom, like they had got a call from school, and the school said that they missed like a period of school, and they ended up getting in trouble. Like, and they went to school the next day and was like, why did, we got in trouble for this. And then they called, her mom was like, oh, we're so sorry. It was something, it was a mistake, but the damage was already done. No apology, no nothing. Like, like, hey, y'all know y'all better not be skipping school, like, and taking accountability.
Didn't even know what came from that, because they didn't think about that. They didn't think about what came from that.
A lot of parents don't take accountability in making mistakes with their children. They sweep it under the rug because they want to still have this sense of entitlement. Well, I'm still your parent and I'm always right. No, you're not. You just was wrong. And that's why, actually, this just happened last night. So we was watching Alice in the Wonderland with me and my daughter, and she was like, "What is serpent?" So I'm trying to explain. She was like, I'm trying to explain it to her. And I'm like, does that make sense? She was like, no, I don't. I'm like, okay, we're gonna look this up, because I don't want to just be like, because I said this, it needs to make sense.
Right, exactly.
I want to make. I'm explaining things in a way that she understands. If I make a mistake, I'm going to take accountability for that. And I'm like, at the easiest way to raise a kid is to embody the behavior that you want them to embody. Like, if you want them to be honest with kids, you have to be an honest, respectful parent. If you want them to be transparent, honest, you have to be transparent, honest. And I said this in like the first season, one lie can damage your relationship with your child.
Yeah.
And you not taking accountability for that, or they finding out the truth somewhere else, they're not going to trust you. They're not going to trust to come.
They're going to look at you completely different. Like, that's that practice what you preach and teach examples, because they're looking at literally everything that you're.
And but look what this has done. Like, the parents has caused. And that's why I say I only work with adults, because, and I'm so happy I am starting to get a lot of younger people who have not had kids yet, because I'm already seeing like how they're going to raise their kids. It's going to change. Like, we about to read, better quality people out here, because we're filled with a world of anxiety. So many people have it. I went to a high school. Actually, I went to Adams High School, and we had a bowl, and we asked, what's the biggest thing that you want to discuss? Almost 90% said anxiety.
Wow.
90% said anxiety. And this, I'm telling you, everything really stems from childhood. But just imagine if we do things different, because nobody is taught accountability as a child. Nobody is taught to deal with with the issue right now in this moment. We're taught to be anxiety. This is an anxiety fueled world. And even looking at the news, that's why I don't watch the news. It's so
I don't watch the
much
news
negativity.
either. From
It's
a
so
child, I didn't watch the news. My grandparents used to watch the news, and it was just always like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it." Like, I don't want to hear that. Like, just like we just talked about, like filling yourself up with positivity. I don't want to. That is not affecting me in my day-to-day life at all. So, like, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear it at all.
You're not worried about you. No, it's not affecting me. If it's affecting me, I'm going to feel it and I'm going to deal with it. I don't have to run or consume my mind with something that may not affect me today, right now, in this moment. Why would I worry myself about something that don't have a plan that might go into effect in 2 years? Why would I worry myself about that? If it happens, I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to deal with it.
When it comes, but that causes more anxiety. I'm thinking about what's something that might happen, and I'm not about to think about something that might happen. I'll get to that when I get to it. When it's at my front door, that's when we're gonna deal with it. But right now, I'm not gonna think about it.
And honestly, too, that's like, it's this living in survival mode. And I'm like, that's what most people are living in. They're not living in a mindset of abundance or just gratitude. They're living in, oh my God, this got like fear, anxiety, and all of that because of what they're watching, what they're consuming, their childhood experiences and things like that. I'm like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it at all. And I've been talking to a lot of people too, when they talk about their childhood and like some of their best experiences as a child. It's so funny because it all probably correlates to that being an experience with the parent that was super anxiety fueled. Like somebody was telling me that they didn't have any lights. And she was like, that was my favorite childhood moment. We would all got to be together. We were so close. Like, and then she was talking, somebody else said like it was their car got broken into or something like that. And they couldn't leave the hotel, but it was the moments where the family got to be really close. And it was like for the parent, they like, oh, I'm so stressed, like that. And I was thinking back to my childhood. I'm like, dang, that's real. Because the parent is just stressed out, worried, and we just living our best lives. Like we having fun because this is a time where we get to be the closest to the people we care about. But yeah.
That is something that used to give me anxiety too with my kids. I used to be like, I would be having panic attacks, and actually, like, my kids not having grandparents, like I always thought back to me going to my grandparents' house. You know what I'm saying? Like as a kid, I was with my cousins. We stayed holidays and we did all these things with my grandparents. And I just felt so bad about my kids. And I'm just like, man, I really wish they had that. And to me, it was something that they were missing out on. And actually, your brother is the one that told me, like, he's like, hey, you're looking at it from your perspective of what you had. He's like, they've never had that. They're not missing that because they've never had that. He's like, you got to stop. Like, you're literally like driving yourself crazy about this. And he's like, they're not missing anything on that. They have you. That all they know is you. Whatever you're giving them, that's all they know. He's like, so like, stop thinking about what you had and think about what your kids have. And I'm like, dang, I never thought about it like that. Like, I literally, like, that helped me so much because I'm like, they literally have never had that experience. So why would I think that they're missing out on that? But I'm going from myself. And I'm like, I can't do that with my kids. Like they have their own experience. They're having literally their own life. So I have to stop thinking about what I had or what they're missing out on. But it was just like, that was like really like an eye opener for me. And it made me look at a lot of other things differently, especially with my kids.
I'm so happy you brought that up because once again, the concept of this season is like the main reasons people seek therapy. And that, not as far as the grandparents, but that example that you just gave, a lot of women who seek me, they're upset because their child's father has left. And now they have a lot of anxiety and worry, like my child is missing out, my child don't have a father, and I know it's something that's common. It's, and it's like we're still going through this, but some women, they really worry and have anxiety, like that's not fair to my child, and your child not even thinking about that. It may have an impact later, but they're going to deal with it when they need to deal with it, because just like we have this experience we need to experience, they have this experience they need to experience. As long as you're getting the most out of your relationship with them, As long as you loving and supporting them unconditionally, that's all you can do. And I know I had a moment too, and I put the blame on myself but I didn't know better when growing up and I had my kids. Like, I didn't know like the importance of like choosing your partner wisely and things like that. We think we do. We like, I'm gonna make sure that this is the one. And I'm like, you can't do that.
You can't control that.
Why? I haven't even worked on myself. I'm fresh out of high school, having a kid. I haven't even dealt with the stuff that I needed to deal with from my childhood. Exactly. I'm not even express my emotions to my partner. How am I thinking that, this is going to be my, this man going to be with me for life, and I can't even express how I feel to him. That didn't even click. We get along. That's all that matters. But you can't talk to him. It looks good. That's that everything that glitters ain't gold. But it wasn't good. Like, it wasn't a lot of violence, but in my mind too, this is our norm anyway. This is the norm that we see growing up. So like, this is the norm. Make it work, because as long as I have the will and the drive, and I'm gonna stay no matter what, that's all that matters. No. No.
It's crazy to go back and be able to look at yourself when you were like when you were in that situation and be like, wow, like to see how far you've come. Like,
so that's what I tell I'm like, I'm gonna keep saying that when I say that to people, they be like, I do. How you gonna say? You don't. If you loved yourself even a little bit, why would you saying that? That to you out of loyalty to who? Not to yourself.
But that's something we're taught as kids too, though, especially growing up where we grew up, how we grew up. That loyalty thing, no. Yeah. It's horrible.
You loyal to everybody but yourself. That doesn't even make sense.
It doesn't even add up. And a lot of people are like that.
But you know what's another ironic thing that I'm thinking about right now in this moment? I talk a lot about a person can only give you what they're able to give themselves. And realistically, you be looking what's going on in your neighborhood. You hear about, they snitched on this person. Ain't nobody loyal. Ain't nobody loyal because ain't nobody loyal to themselves. You can't give loyalty if you haven't gave it to yourself.
Exactly.
Nobody was loyal, so you can't give something that you don't even know what that is, because you're not giving it to yourself. The same with love, the unconditional love, respect. But yeah, is there a message you want to give to the audience? Leave with the audience in regards to anxiety and stress.
Just as hard as it may sound, you have to be able to push the negative thoughts out of your mind and know that you're in control of your thoughts. You are in control of yourself. So working on that, I don't know, going into maybe looking up exercises, going to therapy, going to whatever you feel like you need to do for you to be able to control those thoughts. That's the avenue that you need to go on. Nobody can do that work for you. Nobody can go inside your brain and help you with your thoughts, but whatever you feel like will help you with that, whatever exercises, whatever outlet you need to do that, to just know that you are in control of your thoughts.
I did the Free Your Mind episode, and I'm like, it seems hard, but it's uncomfortable doing something that you're not used to. And it's the things you need to do. It's simple because it's with yourself. It's not like you have big group of people to work on yourself to start to know that you're in control. Those affirmations, like turning the negatives into positive. And every time you hear something negative in your mind, you have to combat it, and you have to let them know it's not real. And this is like getting your power back from your mind. Yep. And also it's to surround yourself with, watching what you consume, I'll say. And that's why with the first episode, I'm bringing it back, because I'm like, maybe they ain't hear me. I need to be more, and maybe I need to know about this. You have to free your mind in order to bring about any type of peace with self, to be in a better space to deal with the things that life is going to throw at you. Because sometimes we will have anxiety, but you can control that. Exactly. Sometimes we will not even sometimes, we're all going to experience grief. We need to learn how to deal with that. We're all this social media pressure, it's there in our face, but you need to know how to deal with that, But thank you so much. I'll be excited talking to people who I can relate to. And they understand. It is easy. You just got to do it.
That's it. It's as simple as that. And also, if you've come to like a self-realization, and even if you feel like your anxiety is really bad, you being able to realize that there's a problem, that tells you right there that you have control over your thoughts. So
in our first episode, the first step, self-awareness. You have to be so aware you can make that change.
Yep, that's it. So if you're at that point, that's what I guess we'll leave off with. If you're at that point where you feel like something is wrong, or you come to that realization with yourself, you're ready to go to the next step. You're ready to work on that and be able to be in control of yourself because you're there already. You just need to take that next step to get to where you need to be at.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. First, I want to thank our guests for sharing their experiences, wisdoms, and tools for navigating stress and anxiety. These conversations matter because they remind us that we're not alone in whatever we're feeling. And more importantly, we don't have to stay stuck in it. Anxiety and stress don't just show up out of nowhere. They build up slowly, like a storm forming in the distance. But here's what I want you to take from this episode. You don't have to wait until you're completely overwhelmed before you do something about it. Here are a few ways to stay ahead of the storm. Declutter your mind. Just like cleaning a messy room makes it easier to breathe once it's clean, so does clearing your thoughts through journaling, talking, or meditating. Whatever you need to do it to help make space for peace. I always tell all of my clients to journal. I know people don't like to journal, but it helps release whatever you're carrying in that day. And I always suggest journaling at night. Just talking about like, maybe I say 3 things, like one thing that you wish you would have did differently. And then maybe the second thing is one thing you want to incorporate in your next day. The next day, tomorrow, something that you wanted to do differently, like get something off your chest at work, or tell that person you've been crushing on them, or whatever it is, just making a plan to like, okay, you know what? I'm going to get this off my chest. And then lastly, I always say end with gratitude. Talk about what you're grateful for that day. And even if you can't think of anything, you know what? I made it through this day and I got to see, another 24 hours, because a lot of people take life for granted until it's too late. So let's start living in the now, But I'll say next, check the forecast. Pay attention to your body, because mind, body, soul is all connected. If you feel more tired, irritable, or restless, more than usual, that's a warning sign. Start knowing your body. I always tell everybody, all my clients, look, I'm telling all of y'all, you know your body better than anybody else do. So you can tell when something is off. And I always say, even when you do go to the doctor, which I feel like you can learn yourself, even when you do go to the doctor, you provide that full picture of what's been going on with your body. It'll help get more accurate diagnosis, or really help them see the bigger picture, because sometimes a lot of this stuff is interconnected. A lot of the diagnosis that doctors give us, but the more detailed, the more you can state what's been going on, the better. And so what I'll say, similar to anxiety in this topic, knowing your warning signs, once you know, like, oh, this is a trigger. And it's kind of related to anger, but I'm going to just say, we're going to talk about anxiety. Like, sometimes people ball their fists, sometimes they clench teeth, or people turn red. And like, start learning when things are becoming too overwhelming. If the same thoughts are reoccurring in your mind, that's a sign too. That is a sign that anxiety is building up, creeping on you. So something needs to be done. And usually it's whatever that thought is that's reoccurring in your mind. You have to take care of it. You have to get it out. And I'll just say, don't ignore the warning signs. Seriously, they're there for a reason. Learn your body, know when things are, I'll say, occurring within yourself. Sometimes it's the time of year, sometimes it's the time of day, sometimes it's just something literally you haven't gotten off your chest. But I'll say, lastly, find shelter before the storm hits. Build routines that protect your peace. And I'll say, I always tell my clients, when you want to start with some more consistency in your life and building those rising routines, I'm like, the easiest thing is to start with your wake up time. You're going to go to sleep. For the most part, if you're not working a overnight shift, I would say, but even if you are, make it work for you. But we all know there's going to be a time we have to get up. My time is 5:30. And then I'll say things that I have in place for my day, 5:30, between 5:30 and 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock is when I see my first client. 1 o'clock is when I see my last client. So I'm finished by 2. And incorporating those things like that routine and I'll say going to sleep and journaling, that can be incorporated in your routine. And if you start waking up early, you're going to go to bed early. Your body is going to be tired unless you're going to fight against it. And that causes anxiety too. Making sure you get the proper amount of rest. Honestly, it goes a long way. Sleep is, I'll say, definitely underrated when it comes to a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about. But also definitely, well, I'm gonna go back. In the morning time, usually that's a time where you can control like your quiet time. That's a time where you can control your quiet time. So those quiet moments that we all need. So before you wake up the kids or before you start even interacting with anybody, the phone, maybe just sit, meditate, or just lay in your bed and pray, do whatever you need to. But just to clear your mind, I always say, I'm thankful I say, thank God for waking me up. I'm like, thank you, God, for waking me up today. But do whatever you need to do. That time really does matter. If you have to get up an extra 30 minutes, do that for yourself. Don't set those alarms for 5:30, 5:45, 6 o'clock. You do 5:30, 5:31, 5:32 until you get up and go get that phone. And I always say, put your phone far away. So when that alarm goes off, you have to get up to get out the bed to go cut that alarm off. And that's what I'm gonna say about that. But also I'll add setting boundaries. Setting boundaries are very important. If you cannot take on a task, don't do it just because, you know what? This is my mom and I want to show up, or this is this person and I want to show up. You have to show up for yourself. I tell all my clients this, y'all. So listen, clients. I tell everybody, it's only one constant person you got to deal with for the rest of your life, and that's you. If you're not good, you cannot be good for anybody. You can't show up for anybody. So set those boundaries. Say no. You don't need no explanation. No. Period. And then I'm gonna move on from that. But I'll say the last thing is making time for things that bring you joy. Reading, writing, those are my things. But do whatever you feel like is right for you. Listening to music, that's also one of my things too. Journaling, yoga, whatever you feel like. Walking in nature alone. Like, I make it intentional now to take my kids to school, so I'm outside no matter what, because I'm at home 24/7. Really, if I would allow them to take a bus, I wouldn't even be going outside half the time. So I just make a conscious effort to go outside every single day. Whether that's walking, taking them to school, just doing something to get out the house and be outside in nature. And even if you're not surrounded by trees, which I love, and things like that, still being outside goes a long way. Natural source of vitamin D, energy. So in that morning routine, make sure you try to incorporate going outside between that time. Every day I'm outside. Okay. But find your joy and do that for you to get that calm before that storm. Because when you're more prepared, you're better equipped to handle that storm. And I'll say release the pressure. This is something I already been talking about. Stress is like steam. It needs an outlet. Breathe deeply, move your body, do something creative to let go of what's ever holding you down. Whatever's weighing you down, because remember, storms don't last forever. No matter how heavy it feels right now, you will get through this. As you have seen with some of my guests today, as you've seen with so many people, as you've seen with yourself. I'm pretty sure everyone has experienced an anxiety, stressful, worry moment, and you got through it. So know that no matter what comes your way, no matter how many lemons life throw your way, you got this. Yeah. And I'll just say the key is finding ways to hold on without letting it consume you. I think it's very, very important. But before you go back to your day to day, I just want you to take a moment to think what's been a constant on your mind. I already stated, anxiety often shows up like a broken record. The same thoughts looping over and over, keeping you stuck in a cycle of doubt, fear is the biggest one, or confusion. And I don't know about y'all, but my guy, he's not a guy who's going to allow confusion in your life. If it looks like confusion, it's not meant for you. It's a sign too. That's a warning sign. Confusion is a warning sign. If it feels like confusion, it needs to be addressed. You need to get that clarity from whatever that confusion looks like. And if it's fear, turn that fear into faith. If it's doubt, do those affirmations. But if something feels like confusion, let it go. If a thought or a situation keeps repeating, it's asking you, it's really asking for your attention. Face it, deal with it, and then release it. Because here's the truth. Clarity is peace, y'all. Clarity is peace. This last year, I was asking myself, like, man, when people like, it was super random, but I mean, a lot of people be asking me, can I pray for you? Or, they just be asking me like, things like that. Or just things that like, what do you want? And out of life, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, last year, 2024, I was like, clarity. I don't know. I just want clarity. Clarity in what? I didn't even know. I was lost, y'all. And that's when I had to let go. But no, God kept bringing me clarity. Here you go, girl. Here you go, girl. And I'm telling you, I feel so much freer with this clarity, this sense of clarity I have in my life. I'm so happy. I feel, man, I'm just going to say, y'all, sky's the limit. That's what I'm going to say, because I want to wrap this up. But the more you avoid, the louder the noise gets. The bigger that stress, worry turns into anxiety. And now you're going through generalized anxiety. And now you're going to see this therapist, or now it's that anxiety can also now turn physical. Now you have ulcers. And to be more serious, you can die. People die from stress. And that is the most, I'll say, severe, but let's get it together. Let's get it together. So when you start running and start listening, you realize you've had the answers all along. This is so funny. So I'm just going to say this too right now. Y'all be in my head sometimes, but it'd be good because my mind don't be putting tricks on me. Every now and then something through up there. But for the most part, it's clarity because I listen to my intuition. But throughout this season, you're going to hear me talk to people. And the conclusion is you have to focus on you. You have to make sure you're in a good place. And then also it was you was the problem the whole time. And I'm not going to say, because we will be getting into some serious topics like sexual abuse and things like that. I'm not going to say you were the problem. And a lot of things do stem from childhood. But as we become adults, and that's why I only work with adults, you have the control to stop what's been going on in your life. You have control to change the narrative because you are the author of your story, okay? You get to write that next chapter. Don't let it repeat itself. Don't let yourself be a product of your environment. You be a product of God, okay? All right, y'all. So today, I challenge you to press stop on that broken record. Instead of letting anxiety be the soundtrack of your mind, your life, change the song. Pick one that lifts you up. Pick one that brings you strength. Pick one that brings you back to yourself. And I'm not talking about that self you let the world create, your family create, your friends create. I'm talking about you, the you that's within yourself that you know deep down is ready to come out. You know deep down is ready to be its authentic self. Okay? Because at the end of the day, you're the DJ, the director, the narrator of your own life. You're not playing, I'll say, co-star, co-actor, co-whatever to anybody. This is your life. You're the main character. So start living like it. I already told y'all this before. But you know I got to bring stuff back. Remix. No. But you get to decide what plays on repeat. Choose peace. Choose clarity. And most importantly, choose you. Thanks for tuning in. If this episode resonated with you, share with someone who needs to hear it. And as always, take care of yourself and keep creating the life you don't want to escape. Until next time, may your mind be clear, your heart be light, and your spirit be free.